Hey everyone out there, and let's talk about the Bootstrap grid system in this movie. Now, if you'll take a look at the documentation of the Bootstrap, you will notice that the grid system is probably the toughest part in the entire Bootstrap. But stand along with me and you will say that this was the easiest part and there is nothing too much in the grid system. I'll make sure that this happens. Now notice this figure out here which I have created for you. Now at first this looks a bit intimidating, but don't worry, this is the easiest part. Now you can see the most common part out here is the number 12. If you'll add 6 and 6, it's 12, 8 and 4, 12, and 3 times the 4 is 12, and 12 times the 1 is again 12. So what is this special about the number 12 in the Bootstrap? Now before we move on to understand the grid, now let's take a look at the file of a.html which we have already taken a look. Now notice out here that there was a container. Now inside the container we have got, if I just drop it out here, you can see that we have got a row, a class of row division, and after that we have got a column sm-4. Now everything has got its importance out here. Now every syntax is important. Now we can see that this is probably the row, this is probably the column, but what about this sm and -4? Now although it says 4, but we have got column only for 3. So what is all about this happening out here? Now all of this can be understood easily with the help of this one-html file. Now there is nothing in the source code, all the things is happening out here in the diagram out here. Now notice that Bootstrap grid system is responsive. That means it is going to respond differently onto a mobile system, differently onto a tablet, and differently on the large screen desktops. Now all the columns will rearrange depending on the size. Now it will detect the size from that viewport. Remember that? And on a small screen it would be better if the contents would be stacking on upon each other. So this will all be handled by the Bootstrap. But here are the few important rules that you always need to remember. The very first rule is that the number 12. The Bootstrap grid system allows you to 12 column across the page. Now you can split up these number 12s according to your convenience. All ones, maybe 4, 4, 4, the 3 columns, or maybe 2 columns, 4 and 8, or maybe 2 equal columns, 6 and 6, or maybe just 1 column. So this is the primary rule of the Bootstrap. And one more thing that I would like to share with you is that the grid column should always end up by 12 for a row. More than that, they are always going to stack upon each other no matter whatever the viewport is, whether it's a large screen desktop or extra large screen desktop. Now we also have got one more thing out here that says XS, SM, MD and LG. Notice we will be using SM. Now before I move on, here are the few rules that we can actually figure out from this a.html file. Now the rule says row must be placed within a container. And that's what we have done. The container can be simple container or container fluid, no matter does it. The next rule says that use rows to create horizontal group of column. Now this is what we have done. We have used a row. Now another important rule is that content should be placed within columns, and what we have done here, and only column may be immediate children of the rows. So what we have done here, that the rows are having an immediate children, that is columns. Now predefined classes like rows or the call-sm-4 are available for quick marking grid layout. That is also important, and we will take a look on that. Another important rule is always specify that the number adds up the 12. These are most important part out here. But what about this SM? Now let's take a look out here, and we need to switch that to one-file. Now notice that we have got some sizes predefined for the Bootstrap. Now these are the classes. Now these classes comes with a variety of rules and some predefined functions as well. Now let's talk about them. The first one is the XS. Now XS stands for the extra small phone devices. You can say the range of it is around 768 pixel or less than that. For that you have to use XS. Now don't worry about them. We will take each of them separately in the movie so that we can learn more about them. Then we have got the small devices or tablets like for SM, and their range is from 768 to, you can say, 992 pixels. So it's pretty fairly good. And after that we have got medium for the desktops, and it ranges from 992, more than 992 pixels to around a 1200 pixels. And for the very large screens, we have got 1200 pixels and more of them. Now we can use a variety of combinations of these as well. But right now, what we have learned so far is pretty simple, that the number should always add up 12, and we have got different detection methods for the different kinds of devices like phones, tablets and desktop. I can understand this is not very much clear at this point, but this is really simple. You don't need to get extra stressed for it. In the next movie, when we will code up some things will get more clear. Right now, just remember this layout diagram, because Bootstrap is all about this particular layout.